Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgy kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And a big thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code SINISTER and get 10% off all of your purchases. The link to both of those is in the description. And we are doing a huge push to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are right on target to make that. If you've seen this channel before, if you like what we do, definitely hit that subscribe button. It makes a huge difference to help the channel grow. And without further ado, we're going to jump into the 1D&D playtest. Number 6, we're talking about the Druid. There are a lot of changes to the 1D&D Druid. It is very, very cool. So let's jump right in, and we're going to talk about the land Druid, the Circle of Land Druid first. They now give you only a few options. They have arid, polar, temperate, and tropical. You're gonna have to go through all those spells and really choose which one you like and enjoy. It does actually affect other things later on, and it does actually give you the ability to change that every day, which is a very, very cool thing. At 3rd level, you get an ability called Land's Aid. You can use this a number of times equal to your wild shape modifier because you can pull one of those as a resource. That's a cool thing that they're doing with the Druid now. First and foremost, you get 4 once you reach top tier. Everything else is just 2 or 3, and you still get them back on short rest. But if you sacrifice one of those wild shapes and use Land's Aid, you can create a 10-foot radius sphere where you can select a number of creatures in that 10-foot radius to make a Constitution saving throw or take 2d6 necrotic damage. If they succeed, they take half damage, and you choose one creature in that area to regain 2d6 hit points. And this goes up with level. So at 10th level, it's 3d6, and at 14th level, it's 4d6. Dependent on your party composition, this can be very, very beneficial to you. It is just a very cool ability that you can do a bunch of damage and then heal up someone at the same time, which is a very, very older edition kind of D&D thing, which I really, really love. Nature's Recovery got a buff, so now you can cast one spell from your Circle of Land area that you have chosen from for free. You can only do it once, so you really want to pick whatever level spell you want or whatever thing really fits your scenario. But you have to finish a long rest before you do so again. You also gain the other benefits where you can get a short rest and recover up to half of your Druid level in spell slots up to, I want to say, it doesn't really give you a list, actually, of when you can't recover a spell slot, so I would just be sure to kind of wait for that to be changed. So just be aware of that. So it's equal to half your Druid level, and you can divide it up 1, 2, 3, depending on what level you are. Nature's Ward. This is a little bit confusing because your actual Circle of the Land choice gains a resistance depending on which one you have, and it gives you immunity to the poison condition, but it doesn't give you immunity to poison damage, and you do get resistance to the poison damage if you pick tropical. So it's worded a little funny. I expect them to change that, but that still is an interesting thing, and you can again change that every day. So depending on where you are, maybe you want to pick up that damage resistance and pick up some of those spells and really kind of grow and adapt, which is a very cool concept. So you're never just stuck in one choice and then realize, oh no, I made a poor one. They give you another ability called Nature's Sanctuary, and this is cool because you create spectral trees and vines in a 15-foot cube on ground within 120 feet of yourself, and it lasts for a minute. And you can move this 60 feet on your turn. I believe it is a bonus action to do so. While there, your allies have half cover. On top of that, they also gain the resistance from your Circle of the Land choice. So if you're in arid, they have fire resistance while they're in there, and they have that buffed up AC because of half cover. This is really, really awesome. And again, it expends a use of wild shape in order to do it. So really be mindful of what you're using your wild shape for. You now have options for it, but half cover and a resistance, and you can move it around for a minute and keep all your enemies in a 15-foot cube. I mean, all your friends in a 15-foot cube. That can do a lot for you. It's really, really tactically a very great support option. which is a very, very interesting tool, especially considering it's spectral trees and vines, so it looks all ghostly and weird, and I really love that like aesthetic of that haunted forest, and that really kind of brings that to the fold. Circle of the Moon is something that, again, has a lot of changes. They went back to the player's handbook version of it, so you don't have that other version that they had previously, where you can still pick an animal and gain all those different abilities, but it does give you a bunch of different ones. Like, first and foremost, you add your armor class without a shield, and you verify that against whatever beast you're transforming to, and you pick whichever AC is higher. So having armor really makes a difference now. So a lot of those beasts that you fight have really low armor, so this can make you potentially dodge some attacks and get some mist. It's very, very cool. You gain temporary hit points in kind of a funky manner. If the temporary hit points of 3 times your druid level is higher than the actual HP of the animal you're turning into, you gain temporary HP equal to the lower number between the animal's HP or your temporary HP. And that's kind of just how it balances out. So it's really, really interesting, and that all depends again on what your wild shape looks like further on. But in the earlier versions, that works out really strongly in your benefit. And while you're in wild shape, you can cast abjuration spells as long as it doesn't have a material component with a cost that gets consumed. And you, on top of that, you also have Moonbeam always prepared. And while in wild shape, and while you're in your wild shape form, you can cast a spell in that form without material components. It still consumes a spell slot, but you do still have that option, and you still have it going at all times for you. So at 6th level, you now get back to going to picking a wild shape equal to your druid level divided by 3 rounded down. And as opposed to just getting your beast attack to do magical damage, you now make the choice for it to do regular damage type, whatever it may be, or radiant damage. Now this is something that's going to come up a little later when we discuss the monk, but this is a very unique thing where, as opposed to just being able to overcome resistances, you now have to choose normal or radiant, which is really dependent on what you're fighting and where you are or what kind of campaign you're running. If you're running an evil campaign, radiant damage isn't probably going to be your best bet. And normal damage will fall off very, very quickly because of just resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, which comes up a lot the higher level you go. You gain a new ability called Moonlight Step. So what it does is you disappear in a burst of moonlight and reappear. And you do that as a bonus action. So it works a lot like Misty Step. And you teleport up to 30 feet into an unoccupied space. You then have advantage on the next attack roll you make before the end of that turn. So you want to use that kind of to initiate, or you want to strategically use that. Depending on what your spells you might have active at 10th level, you might not need that bonus action, but be wary. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. So you're not going to be jumping around a lot. At max it's 5, and you have to wait till you finish a long rest before you can replenish those uses. Unless you want to use a spell slot of 2nd level or higher, which doesn't require an action, but you can choose multiple spell slots and just refill it before a fight if that's something you were interested in doing. And finally, you get an improved Lunar Form. So you get a movable Moonbeam. So now your Moonbeam is, when it's active, it can move up to 60 feet at the start of each of your turns for no action required. So you can do that, and then you can jump around with your Moonlight Step. And then your Moonlight Step gets a little better because now you can teleport one willing creature within 10 feet of you into an unoccupied space that you can see within 10 feet of your destination. So you got to carry them and pick where they land. Finally, you get a whole new subclass called Circle of the Sea. Why this is separate, I don't understand. This seems more like something that would be into Circle of the Land, but I guess because it's sea, it's different. You get an ability right off the bat at 3rd level called Wrath of the Sea, and as a bonus action, you can spend a use of your wild shape to make an aura that is around you for 10 minutes. And it ends early if you're incapacitated or if you dismiss it and there's no action required. At the end of each of your turns, choose another creature you can see within 10 feet of you. That creature has to make a Constitution saving throw, or it takes thunder damage and and if the creature is large or smaller, it can be pushed up to 15 feet away from you. To determine this damage, roll a number of d6s equal to your wisdom modifier. So this, again, is a bonus action. So you can do whatever you have to do and then move into an area and then pick one creature, use this ability, and if they fail, push them away 15 feet from you, which is a benefit. And if you still have movement left, you can still take that movement away. It's a great way to reposition and potentially push people away and save people who maybe your party members in distress. You also get Aquatic Affinity, which is cool. It gives you a swim speed, and if you wild shape, whatever creature you have additionally gets that swim speed, and you always have the water breathing spell prepared. It doesn't state that it goes against your number of spells you can prepare, but I'd assume that was kind of the benefit, or at least the train of thought. And then finally, at a 10th level, you get Stormborn, which gives you 2 more abilities for your Wrath of the Sea aura. First off is Flight. You gain a flight speed equal to your speed, and then you gain a Resistance, which gives you resistance to cold, lightning, and thunder damage. And then at 14th level, finally, whenever you use Wrath of the Sea, you can manifest the aura around one willing creature within 60 feet of you, rather than manifesting it on yourself, and the creature uses your spell save DC and your wisdom modifier for it. And you can manifest the aura around both the other creature and yourself if you expend 2 uses of your wild shape instead of 1 when manifesting the aura, which is pretty cool. But it is 1 bonus action, so I'm assuming it's got to go to the other creature to use that bonus action on their turn regularly. The base druid got a bunch of changes. First and foremost, you can now use Wild Resurgence at 5th level, so you can kind of transfer a use of a wild shape into a spell slot of 1st level, or you can do the reverse, burn a wild shape and then gain a spell slot. It all depends on what you're trying to do, kind of the way sorcery's points used to work, but you can only do so once, and you can't do so until you finish a long rest. You also get something called Elemental Fury, where you get to add your wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with any cantrip, any primal cantrip, specifically that would be spells from your spell list, and Primal Strike. Once on each of your turns when you hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon or a beast form's attack in wild shape, you can cause the target to take 1d8 cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, and you choose when you hit whatever ability you want, which is just awesome, because now your wild shape will do a tremendous amount of damage, and your regular attack goes up, so you can come up with a lot of really interesting builds now. And just even if you still have Primal Savagery with your ability modifier on top of it for damage is a profoundly strong attack normally. You also get that improved, so when you do at 15th level you get improved Elemental Fury, which gives you when you cast a primal cantrip within range of 10 feet or greater, the spell's range increases to 300 feet, which is just insane to me. And Primal Strike ups that damage dice from a 1d8 to a 2d8. And then at 18th level you can cast spells in your beast form, and at 20th level they kept Archdruid. So Archdruid works a little differently. You don't have infinite wild shapes. You now whenever you have no uses of wild shape and you start combat, you can regain 1, and you can also convert uses of wild shape into a spell slot. Choose a number of your unexpended uses of wild shape and convert them into a single spell slot, with each use contributing 2 spell levels. And then you got to finish a long rest before you can do so. It's kind of like the same thing you did before, but you did at a level of 1 spell slot per wild shape. And then that really covers all the changes. This was a total rework, but I'm very, very into it. I can't wait to see the Spores version with this and how it evolved, because that Elemental Fury is going to be gnarly. With that all being said and done, we're going to bring this video to a close. I know this was a long one, but there was a lot of changes to the Druid, and I want to try to get to them as fast as possible. That being said, big thank you to our big contributors, our lovely people on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We love you guys. Thank you to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code SINISTER and get 10% off all your purchases. The link to both of those is in our description. And we are still doing that push for 2,000 subscribers at the end of the year. We are on track to make it, but we cannot do it without you. So if you haven't hit subscribe yet and you like what you saw here, definitely hit that subscribe button. And when all is said and done, thank you. for giving a spooky kid a chance.